Good day everyone, I'm very excited to present this topic to you, algebra and multiplication, or in other words, algebraic multiplication. At this stage, I'm sure that all of you are very familiar with adding and subtracting, collecting like terms, the sum and the difference of like terms, product and factors, meaning my multiplication tables, monomial multiply with the monomial, monomial multiply with the binomial, monomial multiply with the trinomial, binomial multiply with the binomial, difference of squares, binomial multiply with the trinomial, the sum of the cubes, difference of cubes, as well as the exponential laws. If there's anyone that is not familiar with these things, please go to the platforms of the grade 8s, the grade 9s and the grade 10s, because all those things are explained in intricate detail there for each and every one. This is a grade 10 platform, so I assume that at this point learners would be familiar with a monomial multiply with a binomial, meaning I've got to take my term that is attached to the bracket and multiply it with both terms inside the bracket. So A multiply with B will give me AB, and A multiply with C will give me AC. The same for the one at the bottom. A to the power of 3 multiply with A squared B will give me A to the power of 5B, and A to the power of 3 multiply with negative AC to the power of 3. Negative times a positive will give me a negative, and then A3 plus A1 is A4, A to the power 4, and A to the power of 3 multiply with C to the power of 3 will give me C to the power of. When we work with a monomial, multiply with a trinomial, then my answer will be 2 times 3 will give me 6, x squared times x will give me x cubed, and x multiply with y3 will give me y to the power of 3. Then 2 into 4 will give me 8. That will be x to the power of 4, y to the power of 4, z to the power of 3. 2 multiply with negative 8 will give me negative 16, x squared, y to the power of 5z. I do trust and hope that all of you understood the process of taking my term that is tied to the bracket and multiplying it with each and every one of the terms inside the bracket. Monomial multiply with a trinomial. Here I would like to go now to a binomial multiply with a binomial, but firstly I want to do the FOIL method with you. Let's call this term is the first term, that term is the first term. The first term. Then this guy and that guy is the outer terms. Then this guy and that guy is the inner terms. And this guy and that guy is the last term. So I put the code first and first, outer and outer, inner, inner, last and last term. Alright? So firstly we will multiply the first term. Then we will multiply the outer terms. Then we will multiply the inner term, and then the last terms with each other. It spells FOIL, first, outer, inner, and last. Let's see what this will give us when we multiply in this manner of FOIL. So x multiply with x will give me x squared. X multiply with y will give me xy. Y multiply with x will give me yx, but I write it in alphabetical order so that it is easy for me to spot when there is like terms. And then y multiply with y will give me y squared. So let's quickly recap on that. We took the first and the first, right? Then we took the outer two terms and we multiplied them to give me xy. Then we took the two inner ones to give me xy again. Then we took y multiplied with y. That gave me y squared. So if I simplify now, where there is like terms, I must add them together. So there's no other like terms with x squared. Xy plus another xy. Remember, when there's no number in front, it's invisible 1. So 1 plus 1 will give me 2. Then I'll have y squared. I cannot add x squared and y squared because they are not like terms. When I have two negative values, x minus y into x minus y, So x times x will give me x squared. X times negative y will give me negative xy, because a positive times a negative is a negative. Then I have negative y multiplied with x, and negative times a positive is also a negative, and that is xy. Then I multiply negative y, multiply with negative y, and negative multiply with a negative will give me a positive result. I collect the like terms. Xy is both negative, so I add them together like I did when it was positive numbers, but in this case I just keep the sign negative. So xy plus xy will give me 2xy. So likewise negative xy minus negative xy will give me negative 2xy. I just keep the sign negative, and then I'll have y squared. When I have x plus y into x minus y, is a slightly different story. So now I've got x squared. When I multiply those two, when I multiply x with negative y, it will give me negative xy. If I multiply positive x with y, I'll get positive xy. And if I multiply positive times a negative y, that will give me negative y squared. Now you will notice I've got a plus 1 and I've got a minus 1. 1 minus 1 will give me 0. So I'm left with x squared minus y squared. And we call this the difference of squares. So you will see this is a very valuable lesson that I had to learn when it comes to the difference of squares. Let's now look at a binomial multiply with a trinomial. So I take my first term and I multiply it with all three in the second bracket. Then I'll take my second term and multiply it with all three terms in the second bracket. So if I take x and I multiply it with x, I'll get x squared. If I take x multiplied by y, I'll get xy. If I take x and I multiply it with z, I'll get xz. So now I'm going to take y, multiply with x gives me xy. Y multiply with y will give me y squared, and y multiplied by z will give me yz. I look for any like terms. The like terms I notice here is xy, so they need to be added together. So I'll still have x squared, I'll have plus 2xy. There's no other xz, so just one xz. There's only one yz, and then y squared. The order is not too important in this case because it's not significant at this point in time. When I have a positive, it remains positive values, but the moment there is a negative, negative times a positive is a negative, negative times a positive is a negative, and a negative times a positive is a negative. So y multiply with y will give me negative y squared. Y times z will give me negative yz. Y times x will give me negative xy, because y is negative. The like terms in this instance, I've got positive xy, got negative xy, and we know 1 minus 1 is 0. So I'm left with x squared plus xz minus yz minus y squared. Now we get to a special type of binomial multiplied by a trinomial, where I have x plus y, and in the second bracket I have x squared minus xy plus y. And I should have practiced this one enough times to know that this will give me the sum of cubes. If I multiply that, I'll get x cubed. If I multiply those two, I'll get a y cubed. If I multiply x by xy, I'll get x squared y. But likewise, that is negative x squared y. If I take this one and I multiply it with that, I'll get positive xy. So that will cancel out the positive x squared y, will cancel out the negative x squared y. If I take the x and I multiply it with y squared, I'll get xy squared. If I multiply this with that, I'll get negative xy squared. So that will cancel out also. So both middle terms that I will get will cancel out. So this will give me the sum of cubes. For this one, where there's a negative in front, the first term in the second bracket is the square of this one. The third term in the bracket is the square of this one. And the middle term is this one. Multiply with that one. And the sign is changed. Notice the same is here. X squared, y squared. This one multiply with that one. And the sign is changed for the sum of cubes. Here will be the difference of cubes. X cubed minus y cubed. I hope till this point you have had plenty and plenty of experience in calculating this.